Welcome to Defining Mass Communication. We're on Chapter 3, pages 95 to 103. We've now discussed the evolution and characteristic of mass communication culture. We'll be moving on to Learning Outcome 1.2, which is to examine the theoretical perspectives and questions relevant to the definition of mass communication. There is an increase in the availability of ICTs and different kinds of media that's transmitting messages to an increasingly heterogeneous and global audience. With this increase, it makes it very difficult to consider what is mass communication today. Because of this, mass communication is defined through various perspectives, each with its own emphasis. McQuail distinguishes between four different perspectives, which is the media culturalist perspective, the media materialistic perspective, the social culturalist perspective, and the social materialist perspective. The media culturalist perspective is the emphasis on the content, reception, and context of information and communication. The emphasis is on the nature of media content, such as the information, the entertainment, or the propaganda that's being sent. It is how the content is received and interpreted by different audiences in different circumstances, such as the people that live more in rural areas will have a different interpretation of their content than people that might live in the city and the urban areas. The media materialistic perspective is the emphasis on the technicalities of medium and the media itself, how technology of the medium impacts the nature of the media messages. And this ties back to Marshall McLuhan's thing, which is saying that maybe the medium is the message. Think about it. Do you feel like the message on radio, the same message, say, let's just say for an example, Kim Kardashian gets red heels, do you feel it's interpreted a little bit differently on the radio than it might be on television? And therefore they said that the different technologies can encode different messages differently and reach different audiences related to the different media. The social culturalist perspective is that we need to take into account the social factors on media production and reception, the functions of the media in social life, and that sometimes what is happening in society can have also an influence on mass communication. And then lastly, media and media content can be seen as a reflection of society. The media in that first world country will differ to what's happening in that third world country. Those different countries might have different perspectives and different perceptions of what exactly is mass communication. Despite these differences, we can agree that there should be focal parts in the definition of mass communication. So just to cycle a little bit back here and recap what we've gone through, here we have McQuail's four perspectives. The first one is, when we're thinking about mass communication, should we look at the content and how the audience is receiving the communication? Should we look at the actual information, the actual entertainment message, how the content is then received by the audience and interpreted based off where they might live? Is that mass communication? Media materialistic perspective. Should we look at then the technology that's being created and how it could impact on the message and the audience, and that different technologies could encode differently and therefore impact the audience in a different way? Is that mass communication? Should we look into how the media portrays social factors happening and how it could be produced in the media and received by the audience? Is that mass communication? And then lastly, social materialistic perspective. The media content can be seen as a reflection of society, which is that whatever is happening in that country, be it first world and third world, would that affect how the audience perceive mass communication in terms of their perception being sort of perceived by where they are in terms of the country? So with all of those four perspectives, what we can agree on is that there would be a communicator, there would be a medium, there would be a message, there would be an audience or recipient, the public nature as well of mass communication, and the diverse content of mass communication. Therefore, we have a working definition. The definition we can agree on for mass communication is that there would be an involvement of some sort of production of a variety of messages by an institutional group or collective communicator. The message would be transmitted through technology, like through channels such as television or radio, to a heterogeneous audience. And by them receiving it, they can interpret it in different ways and decode them in different ways. The content that's being Distributed would be a mix of information, different viewpoints, entertainment, or advertisements. And the purpose is usually to mediate meaning and understanding either subliminally through your, if you learn about this later, the semiotic approach, it could be subliminal messages with a secondary meaning than a more intended meaning, or it could be honestly and explicit in terms of showing this is exactly what I'm trying to communicate to the audience. When it comes to media, it can't be a private thing. It's going to be a public sphere. And then lastly, when we're looking at mass communication, it is all about publicness, which is that there's not going to be any sort of private nature. In the next section, we're going to be discussing more unpacking of those concepts, such as communicator, medium, message. What does that exactly mean? What do you mean by those things? I know you're ready for the next clip. Let's get to it.